Today's number 2 most urgent vulnerability on the Daily Ranked CVE Brief is CVE 2026-21509 in Microsoft 365 apps, also described by Microsoft Office. Our promise is simple: what to patch first, ranked by real exploitation signal from CISA KEV, first EPSS, and CVSS. This one earns the runtime because it is not just a theoretical Office issue. It is already on CISA's known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, and it sits in the 0.99357 EPSS percentile, meaning the exploitation signal is extremely high compared with the broader vulnerability universe. The CVSS score is 7.8, so it is high, not critical, but do not let that soften the priority. This is a security feature bypass in widely deployed productivity software. CVE 2026-21509 is described by NVD this way. Reliance on untrusted inputs in a security decision in Microsoft Office allows an unauthorized attacker to bypass a security feature locally. The associated weakness is CVE-807, reliance on untrusted inputs in a security decision. In plain English, that means the software is making a protective decision based on information it should not fully trust. Security controls often need to decide whether content, a file, a setting, or a condition should be treated as risky or safe. If that decision can be influenced by untrusted input, the product may reach the wrong conclusion. For defenders, the important phrase is security feature bypass. This does not necessarily mean full remote compromise by itself, but it can remove a layer of protection that users and administrators rely on. Verdict: this is a high-severity vulnerability, because successful exploitation can have high impact, even though the attack path is not fully remote and automatic. The first CVSS metric that matters is privileges required, none. The attacker does not need an existing account or elevated access on the target system for the vulnerability path described by the score. The second metric that matters is impact. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are all rated high. That is why the score climbs to 7.8. The reason it is not scored even higher is also important for prioritization. The vector is local and user interaction is required. So defenders should think of this as a high-impact Office security bypass that depends on some user-side interaction, not as a no-click internet worm scenario. The real-world danger is the combination of KEV status and where this sits in EPSS. CISA KEV means the vulnerability is known to be exploited in the wild. We are not naming an attacker, campaign, malware family, or technique here, because that information is not provided in the data for this brief. But KEV status alone changes the defender's posture. It means this is no longer just a vulnerability management backlog item. It is a live risk patching item. The EPSS percentile of 0.99357 reinforces that urgency. Among vulnerabilities tracked by the model, this one is near the very top by exploitation likelihood signal. For organizations using Microsoft 365 apps or Office broadly, the risk is not only one machine. It is the scale of exposure across everyday endpoints, document workflows, email-driven business processes, and users who regularly interact with Office content. To check whether you are affected, start with inventory. Identify endpoints running Microsoft 365 apps or Microsoft Office, including managed laptops, desktops, virtual desktops, and any shared systems where Office is installed. Then compare the installed product and build information against the official Microsoft Security Response Center advisory for CVE 2026-21509. Do not guess based on product name alone, and do not rely on a generic assumption that cloud-connected apps are automatically remediated everywhere. In many environments, update channels, maintenance windows, device health, and user downtime can all affect whether a fix has actually landed. Vulnerability management tools, endpoint management platforms, and software inventory reports should be used to confirm status. For exact affected versions and fixed versions, defer to Microsoft's advisory, not third-party summaries or memory. What should defenders do now? First, apply the Microsoft-provided update or mitigation guidance for CVE 2026-21509 through your normal patching process, using the MSRC advisory as the source of truth. Second, verify deployment, not just approval. A patch marked approved in a console is not the same as a patched endpoint. Confirm installation on a representative sample, then focus on gaps. Third, prioritize systems where Office content is handled frequently. User workstations, shared business machines, and devices used by high-risk teams. Fourth, keep hardening around untrusted documents and attachments. That can include tightening how external files are handled, maintaining endpoint protection, limiting unnecessary local privileges, and making sure users have a clear path to report suspicious Office files. Fifth, monitor for Office-related security alerts and unusual endpoint behavior. And if your organization follows CISA KEV timelines, put this vulnerability into that process immediately. Quick recap. CVE 2026-21509 is a high-severity Microsoft 365 apps and Office security feature bypass tied to CVE-2026-21509, where untrusted input affects a security decision. The score is 7.8, but the real prioritization signal is stronger than the score alone. It is in CISA KEV and has a very high EPSS percentile. Check your Office inventory, compare against the Microsoft advisory, patch, and verify deployment. If this helped, subscribe to the Daily Ranked CVE Brief for what to patch first, ranked by real exploitation signal every day. The full ranked CVE report is linked here.